North Korea's denuclearization tops the agenda at Wednesday's parliamentary Q&A session. Sparks fly as conservative lawmakers demand the South Korean government get tougher on North Korea. Shock and anger as a team of experts concludes the massive 2017 earthquake in Pohang was not a natural disaster, but the result of underground drilling by a geothermal power plant. Plus, the Federal Reserve holds its benchmark interest rate steady, and a majority of officials signal they might not raise the rate at all again this year. The Fed also downgrades the GDP forecast for 2019. So let's start with domestic politics today. South Korea's National Assembly continued its interpellation session on Wednesday, and it was a fiery few hours focused on foreign affairs, unification and security. Areas of debate included North Korea's denuclearization, as well as Seoul's stance on Pyongyang following the Hanoi summit. Kim Min-ji starts us off.
Topping the agenda at Wednesday's parliamentary Q&A session was North Korea's denuclearization. The main opposition Liberty Korea party questioned whether North Korea is sincere about giving up its nuclear weapons, citing a lack of concrete action during the past year. They said it seems rather that the regime is buying time to beef up its nuclear arsenal. They also criticized Seoul's soft stance towards Pyongyang, saying that the no-deal Hanoi summit highlights the need for a new strategy, stressing that now is not the time to be pushing to ease sanctions.
Does this government not have a plan B or C? Aside from getting the sanctions off, does it have any objectives at all?
We are working on the diplomatic front, and we have been coordinating closely with the U.S. Although the Hanoi summit ended without a deal, we're drawing up measures to address the changing circumstances, both short and long term.
The ruling Democratic Party brushed off concerns that the talks had completely broken down, saying that both North Korea and the U.S. are leaving the door open for dialogue. They asked whether there was progress in other areas, to which the government said that the two sides had significant discussions about issues like humanitarian assistance and the establishment of liaison offices. The ruling party also highlighted the need for continued efforts to prepare for joint economic projects with North Korea.
Inter-Korean economic cooperation is a must. Together with the South's capital and technology and the North's resources and labor, the Koreas can join the ranks of the advanced countries. Seoul needs to be at the front of the line when Pyongyang opens up its economy.
I think that cross-border economic exchanges could help bring about denuclearization, but they should be pursued in a way that does not hamper international sanctions. Right now, it's possible to seek exchanges in such areas as culture, academia, and sports, so there is a need to focus on those.
Lawmakers also voiced concerns that Seoul is compromising its security by scaling down its joint military exercises with Washington. To this, the Defense Ministry said the country is maintaining military readiness and monitoring any developments in North Korea, adding that if there are signs of nuclear proliferation, it will coordinate with the international community to block it. Kim Min-ji, Arirang News.
The UN Security Council Sanctions Committee has been holding a closed-door meeting to discuss sanctions on North Korea, including possible tougher measures. The committee is reviewing how UN member states have been implementing the sanctions, as well as looking at the expert panel report submitted last week. The report said the regime has been illegally receiving refined petroleum products via ship-to-ship transfers and has been exporting small arms to Syria, Yemen, Libya and Sudan. The committee will discuss if additions need to be made to the sanctions list and if exemptions for humanitarian aid should be granted. Now to shocking revelations on Wednesday as investigators confirmed 2017's powerful earthquake in South Korea's southeastern city of Pohang was not natural, as most of us had thought all along. Instead, a team probing the quake, which damaged large parts of the city and brought great mental distress, as you can imagine, to local residents, says it was man-made, caused by underground drilling by a nearby geothermal power plant. Cha Sang-mi with the details.
On November 15, 2017, residents of the city of Pohang had to evacuate as aftershocks from Korea's second-largest earthquake on record shook their port city, some 370 kilometers southeast of Seoul. At magnitude 5.4, the shaking destroyed thousands of homes and injured dozens of people, the estimated damage reaching nearly $75 million. The results of an investigation revealed Wednesday that the quake was probably or almost certainly anthropogenically induced, that is, caused by humans. To blame, it said, was a local geothermal power plant. The year-long study by a team of local and foreign experts led by the Geological Society of Korea concluded that the series of quakes was triggered by excavations at the plant that started in 2015.
A series of micro-sized earthquakes occurred when fluids were injected in the process of excavating a geothermal well at the power plant, which eventually triggered the Pohang earthquake.
The geothermal power plant works by drilling 4 to 5 kilometers deep to tap into heat from the earth and injecting high-pressure water deep into hot rock. During the process, the force of the water carves new fissures into the rock and absorbs heat, after which the hot water is pumped up to the surface, where as steam it turns turbines. The geologists claim that by weakening the ground, water infusion can cause seismic activity. Local citizens plan to sue the government for compensation and to demand that it close the plant. The plant had been temporarily shut down since last March during the assessment. To this, the government pledged to spend more money to make the area safe again.
In cooperation with Pohang, we will permanently suspend the project to commercialize geothermal development. And after discussing it with experts, we will restore the land as fast as possible so that safety is also restored.
As for who's to pay for the earthquake damage, Chung said the government will abide by what the courts rule. Cha Sang-mi, Arirang News.
The official campaigning period for the April 3rd by-elections kicks off today. For 13 days, candidates will be able to reach out to voters in a variety of ways and sell their policy pledges to the public. This time, 2 parliamentary seats are up for grabs, as well as 3 local councillors' posts. The 2 districts are Changwon and Tongyong, both in the southeast of the country. The seats are vacant following the suicide of a progressive political figure and the conviction of a lawmaker for violating the political funds law. Although it's only 2 seats, it will serve as a litmus test to see public sentiment towards the various parties. No massive surprises in the United States on Wednesday as the Federal Reserve left US rates unchanged. On top of that, no more rate hikes are expected for the rest of the year, but one might happen in 2020. At least that's what the policymakers are saying right now. Lee Seung-jae reports.
Following its 2-day meeting, the Federal Open Market Committee announced Wednesday that it has left its benchmark interest rate unchanged at the target range of 2.25% to 2.5%. After raising rates for 5 consecutive quarters, the decision comes amid increasing concern about slowing economic growth. Analyzing data released at the end of the 2-day meeting, the FOMC expects not to raise rates again at all this year, projects a single rate increase in 2020 and none in 2021. Fed officials had initially expected 2 rate increases this year and 1 more in 2020. At a news conference shortly after the meeting, Fed Chairman Jerome Powell said the Fed expects the U.S. economy to grow at a solid pace in 2019, but will be slower than last year's quick acceleration.
The U.S. economy is in a good place, and we will continue to use our monetary policy tools to help keep it there. We continue to expect that the American economy will grow at a solid pace in 2019, although likely slower than the very strong pace of 2018. We believe that our current policy stance is appropriate.
Powell also did not rule out the possibility that based on the current condition of the U.S. economy, the Fed's next move could be a rate cut. Looking to the future, 11 committee members said they do not expect any more rate increases in 2019, while 4 said they expect 1. None of the members expect a rate cut. In 2020, 7 members expect no additional rate hikes, while 4 expect 1. 3 expect 2 increases, and the other 3 members predict 3 to 4. Analysts believe the Fed will hold rates steady, as Fed officials now expect economic growth of 2.1% for 2019, down from the 2.3% it forecast in December, but warn a downward revision on growth could spook investors. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Now, staying with world news, Italy's Prime Minister has pledged to become the first G7 nation to join China's Belt and Road Initiative. Now, this announcement has ruffled a fair few feathers within the Italian government and also with some of Rome's Western allies as well, who are not happy about the move. Noah Ram reports.
Chinese President Xi Jinping is due in Rome on Thursday for a trip that will likely see Italy officially join Beijing's Belt and Road Initiative. Several MOUs, including opening Italian ports to Chinese investment, are also expected to be signed, all of which both countries say will have economic benefits.
If China and Italy can reach an agreement on the BRI cooperation, it will be beneficial to economic development of the respective countries and our economic cooperation.
However, Italy's plan to join the initiative has sparked concerns within Conte's own government. Some fear the joint infrastructure projects could undermine national security. The United States and Italy's European neighbours have also expressed concern over what they see as China's increasing attempts to dominate global markets through what it sees as unfair trade practices. The EU also issued a statement last week describing China as an economic and systemic rival. Conte, however, dismissed those concerns.
It does not remotely put into doubt our Euro-Atlantic alliance. Its content, negotiated for many months with Beijing involving all the administrations concerned, presents no risk for our national interest and is fully in line with the strategy of the European Union, and in fact, it promotes it, as no other member state has done so far in its dealings with Beijing.
Noah Ram, Arirang News.
Now, let's stay in Europe. The head of the European Council says the EU will only agree to a short delay in Brexit if Britain's Parliament backs Prime Minister Theresa May's deal next week. Donald Tusk's comments were in reaction to May's request for an extension until the end of June. The newly proposed deadline will be discussed during a summit on Thursday between EU leaders. He also said if May's deal passes, then there will be no need for extra EU meetings before the current Brexit date of March 29th. This as May once again urged MPs to approve her deal, adding the British public has had enough of talking about Brexit. She added that it was a matter of great personal regret that she had to seek the 3-month delay. And the EU has slapped Google with yet another massive antitrust fine, this time to the tune of $1.7 billion. The European Commission says Google used its AdSense, its advertisement service platform, to cement its dominance and shield itself from competitive pressure. This is the third time in 2 years that Google has been fined by the EU. The total fines amount to nearly $9.5 billion. Now, President Moon Jae-in is going to be sitting down with former UN Secretary-General Ban Kimoon in the coming hours for talks on tackling the ultra-fine dust crisis here in the country. The top office offered Ban the role of heading a national committee on the matter last weekend, which Ban accepted. Ban told the presidential chief of staff that he was pleased to help, but he was also concerned he might not be able to meet the expectations of the people here in South Korea. The committee was first proposed this month by the leader of the minor opposition Bareunmirae party. South Korea celebrated its 46th Commerce and Industry Day on Wednesday by honouring businesses and individuals in the field for their hard work over the years. Go Ryun-hee reports.
There were cheers, laughter, and rounds of applause. 190 company leaders received awards and commendations from the government at a Commerce and Industry Day ceremony hosted by the Trade Ministry. South Korean government officials thanked them for their contributions to the local economy.
Korea's per capita GNI surpassed $30,000 in 2018. In 1974, when the nation celebrated its first Commerce and Industry Day, the figure stood at $563. This remarkable jump is mainly due to the dedication of workers in the field.
Trade Minister Song Yun-mo also emphasized the importance of increasing investment and branching out to new sectors. Some of the award winners said such encouragement is especially important for small and mid-sized firms.
This event will help revitalize companies, as it can serve as a platform for them to enter wider markets with their products, which have been already recognized by the government in terms of quality.
The South Korean economy is going through some difficulties, including unemployment. However, encouraging companies by giving awards will improve the economic sentiment.
At the event, industry representatives came together and promised to revitalize the local economy through measures like boosting exports. An economic expert says they should keep an eye on possible uncertainties at home and abroad.
One of the external uncertainties we have to look out for is the US-China trade dispute. We don't know when it is going to end. Also, the global economy is growing at a slower pace than last year. This might negatively impact companies' investment and exports. In Korea, there are issues such as the 52-hour workweek policy and the minimum wage hike.
The expert added for companies to successfully enter new industries related to the fourth industrial revolution in the future, deregulation measures are critically important. Go Ryun-hee, Arirang News.
Now, the Kpop sex scandals involving two famous singers are now entering a new stage. One of them is going to be attending a hearing on his possible arrest in the coming hours. Chae-seong reports.
It all started last December with a customer at the Burning Sun nightclub who claimed the club had illicit ties to the police in Seoul's Gangnam district. He said he had been beaten up by club security guards, but then was himself arrested as a criminal suspect. He blamed corruption and pointed to Seung-ri as the club's owner. Public interest in the man's story grew fast, so in January this year, the Seoul Metropolitan Police Agency opened an investigation. Seung-ri denied involvement in the club, but in February, the police raided the club based on intelligence that there was prostitution, rape, and drug use. Officers were also sent to the police substation in Yeoksam, where the club is, to look for evidence of any collusion. In late February this year, Seung-ri was questioned by police as a witness over allegations that he procured the services of prostitutes at the club for his potential business partners. In March, he was charged with soliciting prostitution. The scandal grew when the police got hold of Seung-ri's mobile chat room in which singer Jung Jun-young is suspected of sharing video clips of sex acts between himself and several women. Jung was charged with illegal filming and distribution. So far, the Seoul Central District Court turned down the request for an arrest warrant in the scandal for the club's official owner, saying the police need to more clearly explain what crime they suspect he committed. Jung will attend the hearing this Thursday on his possible arrest, while Seung-ri has asked and gotten approval to postpone his mandatory military service while the investigation goes on. On Monday, President Moon told the Minister of Interior and Safety in charge of the investigation to run a thorough probe. The minister gave a press conference the next day, saying the police will exhaust all avenues. Chae-seong, Arirang News.
Now, as a follow-up to that report, South Korean tax authorities have initiated a probe into YG Entertainment, the management agency of K-pop band Big Bang, among others, over allegations of tax evasion. Sources say the National Tax Service has collected relevant documents from the company's headquarters in Western Seoul. The probe comes amid the sex scandal involving Seung-ri, a former member of Big Bang. The authorities declined to confirm the details of the probe. The Seoul Metropolitan Government has revealed plans to build a new footbridge along one of the 31 bridges that straddle the capital's main waterway. The city says it will become another famous landmark here in Seoul. Kim Hyo-sun reports.
The first ever footbridge across Seoul's Hangang River was built in 1917. It was damaged during the Korean War but was restored in 1981 into today's Hangang Grand Bridge, a twin-arch bridge. The Seoul Metropolitan Government has revealed plans to build a new footbridge alongside one of the arches of the current Hangang Grand Bridge. It will connect Norangjin area with Nodil Island, which is an uninhabited artificial island and ecological park.
We plan to make a footbridge utilizing the 10.5-meter width of the bridge where the roads for vehicles and pedestrians can coexist.
Seoul plans to complete the construction of the 500-meter-long and 6.5-meter-high footbridge by June 2021. It will have a transparent glass floor section, an observatory, and an event plaza. Once construction is completed, it will become the first among the 31 bridges on Hangang River that's exclusively designed for pedestrians. The Seoul government also explained it will decide later whether to build a separate footbridge connecting Nodil Island to the Yongsan district in the north. Kim Hyo-sun, Arirang News.
Okay, weather time, and for that we have our Lee Ji-hyun, who's at Gangnam Station, which, as I'm sure you know, if you're a regular viewer of Arirang, is one of the busiest commuter hubs in the capital, if not the country. So Ji-hyun, I think most of us in Korea actually don't mind the fact that we've had quite a lot of rain and this colder temperatures, as long as it means we don't have to carry around a face mask. I noticed that you're not holding one today. We have this clean air, which we're all delighted about.
Good morning again, Mark. And indeed, you know, Gangnam Station, first of all, is always packed with lots of people and many cars that you can hear on the background sound. But me and my crew, we are actually in the center of Gangnam. But we've talked about how clean the air is today, especially after having to breathe in those unbearable toxic smog all morning. But for today, instead of face masks or raincoats, you're going to need to dress extra warmly before heading outdoors. Now, overnight rain has let up and cleared all the dust from the air. It stopped raining here in Seoul earlier this morning, while the rest of the country could see on and off light drizzle in the morning hours. Temperature-wise, bearable temperatures to start off the day, but from this afternoon, colder winds will blow in, and it should feel chillier than the actual digits. The sprinkled snap returns tomorrow morning with a low of -1 degree Celsius here in the capital. And winter coats are needed as it might feel a bit chilly even in the afternoon for today. And daily highs will be a few notches lower than yesterday as Seoul will get up to 13 degrees Celsius. Now today is Chumbun, a spring equinox, but rather here in the capital we are going to have a winter-like morning for the next couple of days, so be sure to dress extra warmly. That's Korea for you, and let's take a look at the international weather for viewers around the world.
Well, that's all we have for now, news-wise, on this Thursday morning here in Seoul. Stay tuned to us on Arirang TV, and a reminder, as always, that our next newscast is only coming up in around 90 minutes' time at noon Korea time with our very own Jaein. So until then, goodbye.
2019 New Arirang. Arirang TV has prepared a new lineup of programs. 5 project renewal plan. The eyes